This is not the Eiffel Tower. And while you might think that I'm lying to you, or that this might just as well be a generated image, then you are wrong. Not only was this image captured by a real camera, this tower was also found outside of Paris. And if that on its own isn't already unbelievable, they even managed to copy big parts of Paris itself. Tianducheng is a place in China that earned its nickname as the Paris of the East. And while China was able to replicate this whole place, it's not the only place in the world that has another copy of the Eiffel Tower. And even though there's only one genuine Eiffel Tower, we found out that more than 50 smaller versions of the tower were built throughout the world. But this story is a little bit different. Construction of the city in China began in 2007 in the province of Suzhou. Standing tall at 110 meters is a mini replica of the Eiffel Tower, capturing a third of the original. But it doesn't stop there. The city boasts an imitation of the Versailles Neptune fountain and even houses a copy of Leonardo da Vinci's timeless masterpiece, the Mona Lisa. It is captured within buildings that mimic the classical French style. This place has become a favorite destination for photo enthusiasts. And the attention to detail extends to the street lamp posts and the layout of greenery surrounding the central tower. And although it does seem to be a convincing replica, visitors might still quickly recognize the traditional Chinese culture. Instead of baguettes, you'll find bakeries selling taro and pastries with red beans. Interestingly, this ambitious project didn't initially attract many Chinese residents and only had about 2,000 people calling this place their home in 2013. Even now, aside from the tourists visiting this place, it does seem like the city is a ghost town, especially when comparing it to Paris itself. But why even bother copying other countries and their history? Well, as China's economy began its rapid ascent in the early 1990s, a desire for novel homes that reflected success emerged, leading to the replication of architectural styles from various foreign countries. That's right, Paris is not the only place that has been copied. There is a place called Thames Town, named after the majestic Thames River in the United Kingdom. Thames Town was envisioned as an exact replica of London, a dream that became a fascinating reality. In its early days, this area was nothing more than vast farmland. However, the visionary Tony Mackay, a British citizen, teamed up with the Shanghai Planning Commission to orchestrate this transformation. It was part of a national initiative to decentralize urban populations by encouraging city dwellers to embrace suburban life in the Songjiang district, just outside of Shanghai. Today, Thames Town boasts a picture queue landscape with Victorian terraces and even classic red telephone boxes. Some of its buildings are uncannily identical to those you'd find in London, such as the main church, designed to mimic Bristol's Christ Church. To add to the authenticity, lamp posts were imported directly from the United Kingdom. One of the most iconic features is China's rendition of London's Tower Bridge, a colossal structure twice the size of the British counterpart, and adorned with 4 turrets instead of 2. Although it was originally constructed to mirror the original, the Chinese government later painted it grey to harmonize with traditional Chinese architecture. The effort was monumental, with a staggering total cost of over $770 million by the project's completion in 2006. Yet, Thames Town didn't quite achieve the grand success its architects had envisioned. Despite attracting numerous tourists, especially couples who flocked here for their wedding photos, very few people chose to call this town home due to the steep housing costs. Now let's get over to a place called Hallstatt. Hallstatt is a Chinese town in Luoyang, Bolu County, copying a village in Austria with the same name. The original Austrian Hallstatt has about 900 people living there, and some of them visited the Chinese version when it first opened. The Chinese Hallstatt tries really hard to look like the Austrian one, with similar ponds and old European-style buildings. To make it feel real, the people who work in the restaurants and bakeries in Hallstatt in China wear clothes that are like what people wear in Austria. This whole project cost a ton of money, around $940 million. The people who made it hoped that rich Chinese people would come and want to live there because it's like Austria, but not as expensive. But just like the real Hallstatt in Austria, this Chinese copy also has trouble getting people to stay there for a long time. But it's still a big attraction, and it makes Chinese people and tourists from other countries feel like they're in Austria even though they're in China. Let's go to Suzhou, a city next to Shanghai. A long time ago, a famous traveler named Marco Polo said, "It's like Venice in the East." In Suzhou, they made canals that look like the ones in Italy, and you can ride in boats like they do in Venice. People even dress up like they're in Venice. Suzhou also has a tower that leans, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy. But it wasn't supposed to be like that. It happened because the ground got soft under a Buddhist temple long after they built it. The food in Suzhou is a mix of Chinese and Italian, with pasta that tastes like it's from Italy. Even though it looks like Venice, Suzhou still has a lot of traditional Chinese things, like old gardens with pretty plants and rocks. Now, Suzhou is a big city with more than 10 million people. Lots of tourists come to see it because it's a mix of East and West. And then there is Tianjin, a city located in China with the goal of replicating the iconic skyline of Manhattan. It has gained quite a reputation for its ambitious urban development projects. Tianjin is undergoing a transformation with the construction of tall skyscrapers and wide avenues, emulating the architectural style and urban layout found in Manhattan. The enticement of this Manhattan-inspired district in Tianjin lies in the fusion of Chinese culture with an international ambience. While it may resemble the streets of New York City, it still retains its unique Chinese identity, offering a fascinating blend of tradition. It's important to note that Tianjin's efforts to recreate a Manhattan-like experience have generated mixed opinions. Some applaud the city's bold vision and the economic opportunities it brings, while others raise concerns about the authenticity of the replication and its potential impact on the city's traditional neighborhoods. Nonetheless, Tianjin's transformation into a modern metropolis with Manhattan-inspired elements continues to be an intriguing urban experiment that draws curious onlookers and admirers from across China and beyond. Our final stop in Jiangxi province is a place called Sanweng. Sanweng has a big dream. They want to make a copy of where the famous writer William Shakespeare was born in England, in a town called Stratford-upon-Avon. Sanweng means three masters in Chinese, and it honors Tang Jiangsu, who lived in the same time as Shakespeare, the Spanish writer Miguel de Cervantes, and Shakespeare himself. While the town is still being built, China had big ideas at first. They wanted to make a copy of where Shakespeare was born and fake Avon River. To honor Cervantes, they also planned to make a small Alcala with a copy of his childhood home. A group called the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, which looks after important Shakespeare places around the world, wanted to work with Chinese architects. They wanted to make sure that the new place felt like the old Stratford-upon-Avon. But in May 2020, the government stopped these big plans for Sanweng. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development and the National Development and Reform Commission made a rule against it. They wanted to help Chinese designers and keep the country's culture alive. Right now, there's no official plan to take down the fake buildings, but they will get checked a lot in the future, and we don't know what will happen in this big project. And although copying places like we've seen may be somewhat uncreative, it still is pretty remarkable, just taking into consideration the sheer size of these projects. Thank you for watching.